And in my playbook tonight, for the first time, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has come out in support of the Performance Rights Act, a bill that would require radio stations to pay a royalty to artists whose music they broadcast. Pelosi said in a statement that, quote, artists deserve to be compensated for their work and rewarded for their contributions to our economy and our culture. If this bill becomes law, then the favorite radio station that you listen to for your favorite music would have to start writing checks to artists. So you may end up with a lot more talk radio in your market and a lot less music on your radio dial. Joining me now is Holland Cook, talk radio consultant from McVeigh Media and regular contributor to Talkers Magazine. Holland, what does this mean? Does this mean that FM stations have got a big decision to make if this goes through?
Well, when you and I met a dozen years ago at an AM station in Fargo, your company brought me in to tweak up the programming and help build the revenue. And in the dozen years since, talk radio remains largely confined to AM stations. The number of talk stations could suddenly double if a bunch of FM stations decide they just can't afford to write checks to big foreign-owned record companies. So I think we're on the verge of a talk radio tsunami.
Well, talk radio tsunami, would that mean more conservative talk in America, as if we don't have enough?
Well, hopefully this will give voice to some of the other great stuff that is underexposed in talk radio. There are a number of voices from the other side of the aisle, such as yours, who aren't heard on as many stations because the big stations are owned by the big company who owns, guess what, the Rush Limbaugh Show, Glenn Beck, and some of the other righty stuff. So it would at least balance the political conversation. But what about Dr. Laura and Dave Ramsey and some of the other apolitical acts that mean so much to people who are sick and tired of this Democrats bad, Republicans good show?
Yeah, well, and of course it would open up an avenue on FM talk for sports talk stations and such stuff as that. But if you own in a medium-sized market, you own a cluster of radio stations and you can't write the checks to these artists if this bill goes through, is this going to gut jobs or is this going to create jobs? Because you got to have the talk talent.
Yeah, time will tell. Rush Limbaugh was accused a dozen or so years ago of costing jobs because he replaced local hosts. But arguably, they gave birth to jobs because other talkers, including yourself, came along. So time will tell. I think more talk is better than less talk. And clearly, iPad, iPod, iPhone, Pandora, and other new platform devices are showing us that while music radio may not be extinct, it is arguably obsolete, that people can program their own music station, if you will, without using FM.
And of course, in every market, there's a lousy rated FM station that's not generating any revenue. So why in the heck would you write a check to play music on it? I mean, that's basically where it is. So you're going to have to get innovative with your programming. Would we see a lot of simulcasting? Would you see like big AM sticks end up being simulcast on FM? Would you see some more television type audio being placed on FM stations across the country?
The lowest hanging fruit are the existing AM stations with a foundering FM sister station. Fact is, 80% of time spent listening to radio is on FM. So no matter how good the AM programming is, most people just aren't there. WBAP in Dallas-Fort Worth, one of the biggest AM stations in America, just added an FM. The station that I managed in Washington, D.C. in the 80s, WTOP, was an AM station at the time, and we always struggled with the geographic coverage that we were confined to as an AM station. Now it's on 3 FMs and it's #1.
Now, is this where Congress... do you think that this is something Congress should do? Should they get involved in this? I mean, isn't this going to pay people for the work that they've done, the artists who for years have not gotten fair compensation for people playing their stuff?
Over 250 members of Congress have signed a non-binding resolution against these royalty payments. So the Speaker's statement speaks volumes. This may be the next step toward the FM talk tsunami. But the labels are accusing accusing radio of starving their artists. The labels do a fine job of starving their own artists. I speak to you tonight from Cleveland, the home of rock and roll, and let's not forget that Bo Diddley died near broke and doing bar gigs because the labels kept all the money. To this day, if you buy an album download on iTunes for $9.99, the artist only gets 99 cents. It's a download. There's no overhead. Where's the other $9 going? To a big foreign-owned record label.
Holland Cook, McVeigh Media, good to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much. It is a changing world we're living in. One final page in my playbook tonight. A major volcano in Iceland that began erupting Wednesday is causing some of the worst travel disruptions since 9/11. The volcano is affecting flights on 6 continents, including flights in and out of the United States. European air traffic controllers report that 17,000 flights have been canceled today alone, leaving almost 1 million people stuck far away from home. The ash is even affecting the United States military. They've been forced to temporarily shut down 2 bases in Great Britain and 2 in Germany. Travel disruptions are expected to continue tomorrow and likely into next week.